welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Aso, this is Aso Tarot, and in today's pick a card reading, we are going to be looking at your financial energy, what energy surrounds your financial flow, how you can use that energy to your benefit, and also just any guidance for attracting more abundance your way, and also just, any guidance around money that the universe has. That being said, if you're wondering where I've been, it has been a minute since I last uploaded, and that is because this reading has been the bane of my existence and I've already filmed it once. I filmed it and I hated it, and then I had to go out of town, so I wasn't able to fix it immediately. And while I was out of town, I had nightmares about it accidentally being posted, and then everyone was getting mad at me because it was a bad reading. And I was like, I need to fix the reading. I need to redo it. And honestly, it was probably just a stress dream and probably would have been fine if I uploaded it the way it was, but I didn't think it was the most effective use of this topic. And also I think it was powerful for me in recognizing what I can do here and what I can't do here. So let's talk about what this reading is and what this reading isn't. This reading is not meant to replace traditional financial guidance. And if you are looking for practical, straightforward financial advice, you should probably click off this reading and Google a financial advisor in your area. I barely understand things about the economy. In college, I got a D+ in macroeconomics, and that's mainly because I didn't show up. However, if I had and gave it my all, the likelihood of my grade being anything greater than a high C, very low B, slim. So that being said, if you're going to yell at me because this reading isn't what you expected, and you wanted practical, transparent financial advice, I'm going to ask you to maybe look in the mirror and ask why you're looking to a tarot reader to give you those answers when there are people that literally study to do that and can be a lot more effective in that area. That being said, what I did see in the reading was that we can look at the energy surrounding your finances. And I think that the energy surrounding your finances is different, hence these different groups. And I kind of noticed that there were different unique energies in each one that were most potent for each of you. So what I realized with that is we can look at that energy and look at how to manipulate it in your favor. That being said, if you are wanting to get rich quick or get a lot very quickly, this reading also probably won't do that for you. One of the realities about that is those are usually scams, or they are unsustainable. They might require you to do things or behave in ways that are unsustainable to you or are corrupting to your spirit. My goal is to look at a financial flow that is sustainable and balanced and that does bring you more, but without you quite literally selling your soul to the devil. Let's just say that. And obviously I mean that more figuratively rather than literally, but I do look at this within a framework of, is this sustainable to your spirit? Is this supportive? Does this create a healthy foundation or add to the foundation you already have? I'm looking at the internal and external shifts that will be most effective towards interacting with your finances, or that will lead to an increase or an improvement in your financial situation. And it's important to remember that this is a general reading. You might live in a different economic system. You might be in a different financial situation from others, and what you do might be different. So because all of those factors are here, I do just want you to remember how important it is to make the messages make sense for you. And if they don't make sense, don't take them, especially if these messages are making you feel frustrated, hopeless, confused. I would consider clicking off the reading, trying a different group, or maybe just taking a step back and asking yourself if readings are the best pathway to you figuring out something in your financial situation. So I guess I say that all to say that I know you guys have asked me for this, and I don't know if what I am able to deliver is going to be helpful or supportive. This is a bit experimental. I do want to help you guys. I do want to support you guys. I can't say that messages about money are my passion and what I really love doing, but I do love helping you guys, and if I can help you in one way or another, I will try. And since some of you have been asking for this, here you go. Don't say I never do readings like this. I don't do them very often, but I do them when I'm up for it. So hopefully this reading will be helpful. And essentially just what we're going to be looking at is, I've got your oracle cards here all laid out. I actually have different ones from the last reading except for these guys. And what we're looking at overall is your financial flow, the energies that impact your finances, and guidance with working with it. And then we're just going to pull some guidance cards around manifesting, attracting what you want, the financial situation you want, or the changes needed in order for you to reach your financial goals. And then we're just going to finish off with a final guidance message from Spirit. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I hope this reading is helpful, but I guess we'll just have to see. So we have 3 different groups for you to choose from today. So starting with group number 1, we have this clear quartz gemstone and this card with Fehu on it. And then for group number 2, we have this garnet hexagon. It's pretty rough. And this Yggdrasil card. And then for group number 3, we are going to be using the third stack of oracle cards. We have this Perthro card on top, and we have this piece of Moldavite. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to decide which pile you feel most drawn to. It is absolutely okay to be drawn to more than one. It's possible too, if one isn't making sense, you might need to try a different group. But intro squad, we're gonna go ahead and make our wish now. We are using the Magician candle because I do feel it is one of the most effective energies for a reading like this. So if you would like to make a wish with me real quick, you can maybe pause the video and put your intentions there. I'm going to do the same. May yours, mine, and all of our wishes come true. Now, intro squad, I am going to finish this reading off with a question. And I thought I had a question in mind, and now I am rethinking that. Okay, what is a limiting belief that since you've let go or that you are letting go of that has made your life significantly better? For me, a limiting belief that I have had is that if what I do, and I wouldn't say this is a conscious one, I would say this is more of a subconscious one, that if what I do is making people upset, then I need to stop doing that because my limiting belief was that I'm responsible for the emotions of other people. And ironically, I guess like this reading might be a little bit of a going back on that, because I was like, oh, I don't want to make people mad at me, like I don't. But the thing is like that's a normal human thing, and also like I can't help that. But what I can do is try to make things better and with more with a quality that I'm happy with. And that will help me be more accepting of whatever the response is. But ironically too, it's readings like this where there's usually like a complaint before this reading is requested, which is okay. Like, I mean, it's fine, but I'm usually more in the camp of like, I usually want to do things more if you just ask me what you want, not what you complain you don't want, because what you're complaining you don't want is what I do enjoy making and what actually does really well for me. And like, so it's a mutually win-win supportive thing. Readings like this normally don't do as well, and they tend to attract like some angrier people, but the reality is too, beyond that perspective, is that the vast majority of you are so kind and supportive and grateful. And my intention for a long time now has been to shift towards that focus, and that's been very helpful. And I love like interacting with you guys, and just like, I don't know, I just like it's very profound to just see all the kindness and supportiveness and love and understanding that comes from you guys that I'm really grateful for. And it just really helps me reorient to the reality that, like, yes, negativity packs a harder punch. And I think it is human of me that, like, I'm going to be trying to, like, protect myself from that, or like trying to avoid it, even though it is inherently unavoidable. Like, all that disclaimer in the intro, you know, the angry ones aren't going to listen to that. They're just going to immediately go to condemnation and then move on with their lives. No wonder, right? It's like, it's almost like that sort of personality type, or wherever that person is at in life, you know, it's like, it just makes the most sense. It's like the ones that are conscientious and understanding, like, yeah, y'all listen to it and get it, and then yeah, it's just all funny. And the reality of this limiting belief is that, like, it has nothing to do with how I'm being treated or what I'm receiving, and it has everything to do with what I'm willing to focus on and how I'm willing to, you know, let enough be enough and treat myself, and find a balance between feeding everyone here, because, you know, everybody has different interests, but also not letting myself go by the wayside, and avoiding doing what I enjoy doing because other people might be mad about it. Which I will say, like, in doing that shift, it has been very good for me. And I guess I've been a little bit frustrated with myself because this reading is taking me so long because of that, like, backtrack into fear. But also I think I needed to do it because I think that this will be better the way that we are doing it. And so, yeah, that limiting belief, I would say, is one that I'm still grappling with. And I think it's an interesting one to grapple with when you are kind of in this, like, position, because, you know, it's just impossible to make everyone happy. So it's really great, you know, definitely content creation. You should definitely do it if you're a people pleaser. You will feel like you're putting your hand on a burning hot stove all the time, but it will set yourself free in a way where you realize, oh, I can literally never make anyone happy, and I just have to accept the pain of knowing that. But at the same time, I think it is healthy and it is good. And, like, ultimately, I think when it comes to that limiting belief, the biggest thing that I've learned is that, like, I can't look at, you know, what I'm receiving. I have to look at how I'm treating myself, and what my standard is for myself, and, like, you know, not letting that noise get in the way of, like, my self-esteem, and, like, how hard I've worked to be proud of myself, and the amount of love and energy I do put into my readings. Like, that's what matters. And what also matters is the people that do appreciate them and do benefit from them, people like you. So thank you. Thank you for being the reason why the pain of being seen is worth it. Yeah, okay. This intro squad got really honest and really vulnerable, but I feel good about talking about that because I feel like creators don't talk about this stuff very often, and I think it's very different when you're doing something, when you're literally doing spirit work as a creator. It is a bit of a different situation. Like, I'm not just being like, hey guys, like, here's my morning routine. You know, I'm trying to help and be helpful. So, you know, there's a lot of love and care that goes into what I do. Not that what other people do, there isn't love and care, but I'm just rambling now. So I'm gonna go ahead now and get into this reading. Thank you for being here. And if you watched all the way through, leave me that little money emoji that's like the little guy with his tongue out and like the money eyes. That's kind of iconic. And also, I'm probably not even gonna watch this all the way through because I might be horrified at what I've admitted, because vulnerability, blah. But I think it's good and I think it's important. And I think you're good and important, and I hope that this reading is good and helpful. So that being said, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And yeah, once you picked your group or groups, I will see you in your reading. Hi there, pile one. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the clear quartz gemstone and Fehu, this is going to be your reading on messages about your finances and financial flow. So I am going to lay out these cards, which is looking at the energy surrounding your finances and how to use it in your favor, and then we'll get into your reading. Okay, group number one. I love the energy of this reading, and I personally relate to it a lot. So there might be times where I give personal anecdotes from my own experience, take them or leave them, but I do hope that they lead to greater faith in your own process. Because first of all, the fact that we do have Fehu here and you picked Fehu on the surface and on a surface level interpretation is a rune of abundance, is a rune of creation and fertility. It also, though, represents the void and the point of all possibility. And what I love about this for you is that your financial flow is deeply connected to your heart center. Your heart energy and heart energy in general is like a magnet, and it can be incredibly attractive, but it's also something that isn't necessarily consistent. If you are in a career where you are on salary or have a very consistent level of income, I would be led to believe that you either have some sort of side hustle or something that you do on the side that you're maybe considering monetizing, or you may be considering shifting altogether in terms of what you do. In terms of how this affects the reason why I say that is because in terms of your financial flow, it seems to be deeply connected to your own sense of well-being and your unique way of moving in the world. If you pick this group, I would be willing to bet that maybe your routines are sometimes inconsistent, or maybe there is a method to your madness that not everyone gets or understands. And with that being said, you might constantly question your own methods. And if you are in a sort of career, or like, let's say, for example, you're in school and there is some sort of regimented expectation of how you're meant to show up, how you're meant to operate. Like if you've ever been to university, you know, usually in the syllabus in the beginning of a class, they'll say how many hours they expect you to spend on that class. And, you know, if you've ever heard the famous last words, this is not a project you can do in one night, you've probably thought, haha, bet, and you've done it in one night anyway. I see you and I appreciate you, because same, I've been there too. And I do think that your financial flow is a bit like this as well. You might find that a more consistent financial situation where you are getting, you know what you're getting consistently every 2 weeks may not be fulfilling, or the way that you have to live your life may not be the most supportive way for you. So I would say that in terms of your finances, if you're not looking to leave that situation, there is likely a second creative outlet, or there are other opportunities for income that might feed a part of you, like your creative side or your generous, sensitive side, that might really be fueled and find the work that you're doing in this other opportunity worth it, and make it easier to do the more consistent thing. But if you are in, you know, if you are self-employed, or if you are in a career where your income changes month to month, I would definitely say you found the right group, because I definitely think that that is kind of how your financial flow is. And the best way to maximize it really has less to do with things that you need to do in order to be better, and rather just a willingness to be gentler with yourself, and also pay attention to how your emotional state affects your ability to work and to attract what you want, and also just generally believe in yourself. The fact that we have acceptance here, I do think that there are times where, and you may be in one right now, where your finances are not where you want them to be. And it's possible too, maybe you've been beating yourself up because you feel like you should be taking more advantage of your situation, or you feel like you haven't been doing as much as you could have. But maybe you've also been in a very emotionally turbulent time, or you haven't been doing well. You know, maybe your mental health has been, you've been really struggling with it, or maybe your physical well-being hasn't been the best. And if that's the case, I do feel like you have been in a place where you've been addressing that, and it's likely as a result your finances are not where you want them to be. But the beautiful thing is that you can get them back where you want to be, and also you haven't truly lost anything. Part of your financial flow is about understanding the value of health also being wealth, and also the recognition that the way that you work and the most sustainable way for you to work may not be consistent bursts every day. You know, maybe you're a sprinter. Maybe you are somebody who, you know, maybe needs a little bit of structure, but really thrives when there's a lot of room. Maybe you need the power of panic to really get you to get things done. Your financial flow is definitely connected to you understanding what your own individual needs are, and also your willingness to believe in your individual pathway of getting there. The fact that we have this Four of Pentacles, I trust that I'm always safe and protected. The most important thing here is to not do anything that is so reckless that you can't focus on your flow and well-being because you don't have the resources to support your well-being. So for some of you, I can definitely see that there might be a time where you're in a transition period where you are creating stability and consistency with yourself whilst also planning for a future that gives you more freedom, and that may not be tied to a consistent income. You might save for a while and then make a leap, or you might find a solution where you can do something part-time and then work on your own, or you might take that leap and work on your own or do something like that. Because what I can see is that your own personal power and your own personal creativity is one of the most powerful ways to increase your financial flow. And I think part of that is also in the recognition part of that financial flow is connected to the recognition that how you're doing every single month, at least in terms of what you're seeing in your bank account, is not a reflection of your worth that month. And instead just the recognition of like things ebb and flow, especially when it comes to the world of creativity and finances. And when it comes to you, your financial flow is not meant to come at the expense of your well-being. I know I already said that, but also one of the things about your financial flow that can make or break the ability to flow with it is your own confidence in yourself and the ability to accept that there are going to be times where your body or your mental health or something like that is going to get in the way of what your power of will wants to do. There are going to be times where you're going to want to rest, or you're going to know that you could be taking advantage of this time, but you can't seem to physically get yourself to do anything other than nothing. And know that in those times there is value there. And honestly, one of the biggest parts of value is you're freeing yourself from that like devil energy of being attached to material income all the time. Obviously, we need some to survive in the systems and societies we were born into. But one really cool thing about your financial flow is that even if everything is in the red, if you energetically are like, this is fine, it's all gonna work out, I'm not gonna pay too much attention to it, this is where we're at, I'm focused on what we're making happen, I know good things are coming my way, I know that I'm gonna make this happen, I know that opportunities are gonna come, I know the universe is gonna take care of me, I know that I'm gonna work with the universe, I know that I can trust myself to get to where I need to be, this is just a dry spell, I'll know the next pathway when I see it. And that's the thing, is that your financial flow is connected to an intuitive, heart-centered part of you that knows when it's time to take action. And I do feel like your creative heart will shut down if your own well-being is being neglected. Your financial flow is definitely connected to your feminine or yin energy. That doesn't mean that you are a woman or that you are a very feminine person. You might be a very masculine person. You might not be like, when I say feminine energy, I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about like yin energy, this receptive, more mysterious, generative, regenerative, more chaotic energy that can lead to bursts of a lot and also lead to times of rot. So think of the cycle of nature where, we have winter where everything is, dead, it's not growing, it's cold, not a whole lot is happening, there's no leaves on the trees, things like that. And then we go into spring where there's new beginnings and everything is growing and blooming, and then we get into summer where things are harvesting, and autumn, then everything is decaying and ending its life cycle. And so I do think your financial flow is tied to different life cycles. So there might be like different projects you have throughout your life, and you might also be someone that jumps from different things or has multiple different things going on depending on your energy levels and what you can handle at that time. One thing that I will say is that if you are holding on to something that, is not a necessity to hold on to, but it is creating a lot of distress or a lot of stress in general on you, and logically, like, you don't necessarily need to have it, but like you're like, well, at least I'm getting a little bit more, you might even want to try like, okay, what if I let go of this thing and gave myself more room? You know, maybe I have to shift my budget or maybe be a bit more conservative with my spending, but you might find that even within that you have more room and more openness for new opportunities. Because one thing about your financial flow as well is that there are tons of opportunities for you, and the fact that we have great adventuring here, you are meant to be, when you're truly in your financial flow, you are naturally prosperous. You attract opportunities all the time. You know what opportunities are worth your time and which ones aren't, and you're also seeing the world in a way where you're willing to say yes to opportunities to see where they lead and walk away the minute you know they're not nourishing or helpful for your garden. Your finances really are kind of like a garden where, and it's interesting because in working with Fehu personally, I saw Fehu as like, I saw their shape, but I saw them as the shape was being created by different flowers that were all in different states of growth and decay. And I kind of took that to mean that the nature of creation is one where, you know, and the nature of abundance is that we have different sources of it, and also they are always in different stages and different states of flux. One thing about your financial flow is that you can't ever expect things to be the same all the time. They will fluctuate. There will be times of great growth, and there will be times where you may need to be more conservative. But the beautiful thing about both of them is that what it does is it allows you, number one, the freedom to honor your eccentricity. And I actually think one of the most beneficial things for you is to honor your eccentricities and your own patterns. If you're neurodivergent, for example, you know, you might know that you're able to do a lot more when you're passionate about something, or that you may know, like, realistically, I'm not gonna do this thing, or I'm not gonna get all this done until I've at least had time to mess around, or you know, give myself a time constraint that's gonna make me panic and really lay it all out there. If that's how you work, that's how you work. And honestly, if I could go back, I wish I could go back and tell the school version of myself, like, hey, you know, just wait till the night before. You know you're going to do that anyway. And it would be a lot better if you just enjoyed yourself until then, instead of panicking and shaming yourself the whole time because you're not, you know, a study Sally that's in the library, you know? You're not a study Sally. You're a panic Peggy, and that's okay. Like, and so I feel like for you, there's a lot of recognition of where maybe you accept less because you receive more. And in that, and what you're receiving more of is more rest, more time to literally just enjoy your life, to be grateful for what you have, to recognize what's truly important. And then in turn, that actually ends up leading to more wealth and more financial abundance for you, because you have more inspiration, you have more room for creativity, you have more freedom and more opportunities that you wouldn't have if you were pigeonholing yourself into what you think you should do. The fact that we have the Two of Wands here as well, when you believe in yourself and when you're confident, this ties into this poised thing. When you have a vision and you believe in yourself, other people feel it. Other people want to believe in you as well, and your ability to make connections and have other people be inspired by you, it's powerful. You have an infectious energy to you that other people want to support. And so when you are feeling insecure or feeling like you're not good enough or feeling like a failure, that energy, definitely take the time you need to address that energy, but also don't be afraid to just reject it outright and recognize your power and what you're able to cultivate. If you haven't taken those steps into, I wouldn't say it's like inherently risk-taking. I do think there's some like maybe risk-taking involved, but it's not risk-taking at the expense of like your survival needs and well-being. Your financial flow is one that is balanced between healthy risk-taking and also a solid foundation that allows you to have like a baseline where you know like what your inherent needs are, what you need to be able to have, and what is like too reckless or too risky, especially if you do have family and things like that, or other people in your life that you have to take care of. There may be certain concessions you have to make in order to meet the metrics of their needs as well. And so then you might have to be looking at, okay, how long do I have to do this? How long do I have to keep this aspect into account? Or Is there a new way that I could meet those needs and my own that might require a shift in how I'm spending or a shift in how I'm living? Am I willing to try that? There's definitely an experimental energy when it comes to your financial flow, but it always comes back to honoring what supports you and what's best for you. And the recognition of the fact that even if you're in the red, this inherent trust in like, it's all gonna work out. Like, I know I've got this. I know I'm being led where I need to go. My heart is leading me. The universe is leading me. That security and faith in yourself just frees up so much mental space that would have been spent panicking and stressing out and not knowing what to do. It makes room for creation, for opportunity. Like when you are in a state of, when your nervous system is like not relaxed, it makes creativity almost impossible. Trust me, I know that from experience. Like it's really silly too, because if you are in a creative career, you might be really frustrated with yourself because you have no inspiration and your well is run dry. And then you realize like, oh, it's literally way harder to create when my nervous system isn't feeling well. So when it comes to your finances, I definitely think that for some of you, you might be on the threshold of change. And I feel like this is a confirmation of that. And you'll know that this change is right for you because your heart is the one leading you towards it, even if your mind is panicking. But use that panicky mind to kind of look at, okay, what are we doing that's pragmatic that will help support us through this change, or give us some sort of security or some sort of grounding or something just for your brain to nosh on while it's like, oh, we're stepping into this unknown. Because part of what's powerful about letting go of like the brain's worry is that allows magic to happen. And that's kind of your thing. Like your financial flow is connected to your own personal magic and your ability to trust in your heart's flow. And so what is truly nourishing to you may not always be what is societally acceptable, and your pathway to getting there may not always be what other people can understand. I don't see you as someone who's going to be like, yeah, I get up at 6 a.m. every day and I take an ice bath and then I tell myself I need to work harder, and then for breakfast I eat nails without any milk, you know, because I'm tough and I grind. Like, you're not meant to be tough and grind and force and push. You're meant to work with what is, because you have this state of natural abundance and creativity. And when you have a single, like, I feel like your yang energy, like your masculine energy, is meant to be focused on, okay, like this is what our heart's leading us towards. How do we stay focused on it? How do we cut out distractions that make us feel unconfident or fearful? Like, one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself financially is look at what emotional blockages keep you stuck in a fearful state that makes you feel hopeless and doomed and like things will never change, or that makes you feel bad for being the way that you are. There will be times financially where you may just have to persevere through unknowns, through questions, through uncertainties, where you're like, okay, I don't know if this is leading to a positive outcome. I don't know if this is leading to where I want to be. And then you get out on the other side and you have tons of energy. You have tons of inspiration that you get to take action on really quickly. You know, your heart is full and you're bursting with ideas. People are listening to you. People are wanting to say yes to you, yes to your ideas. Definitely don't be afraid to network, to put yourself out there, to advertise yourself, sell yourself. I mean, like, you know, in a way that's not disrespectful to you, or disrespectful or harmful to your well-being. But what I mean here is that there is no limit to what your financial flow has to look like beyond, you know, just like, as long as your needs are being taken care of, anyone that's under your care, their needs are being taken care of, then it's open. And, you know, and you might even choose times of emotional dryness and frustration or something that doesn't work in order to kind of build a reserve, and then take risks, and then be open, and then make a shift. Ultimately, your financial flow is one that is balanced and is playing the long game, but at the same time, it's a flow that is deeply rooted in the present, where it is flowing with what is and what you're wanting to move towards, and not letting go of that, you know. And also, I think that you may even want to look at too what your idea of success is and what your relationship is to it. What do you define as success? Does success come at the expense of your happiness? Like, what is truly valuable to you? because I do think the most meaningful financial increases for you, or just the most meaningful experiences with finances you'll have, are the ones that are tied to actions that you took that were in alignment with your well-being, and that came from a place of care, of generosity, of love, of something you care about and are passionate about and that you love to do. Like, that is going to be so meaningful for you. I think the only time where you may want to put your heart in check is if your heart is asking you to do something that's almost in alignment with like martyrdom or self-sacrifice. If you are doing I'll use myself as an example. Before I did this, I was working at a rehabilitation center for adults with mental health issues, and I was not making enough to support myself. So I would literally work from like 4 p.m. to midnight. I would get home at 1 a.m. and then I was like, I swear, at the time I was like possessed by something where I just like, I guess it was passion, it was motivation to change, and I like put my all into just building this channel and just seeing what could happen. And within the span of a few months, I was making more doing this than I was doing that. And I felt, and it actually took me even longer to let go of that job because I felt bad leaving it. I felt like I was doing something bad, or I was doing something wrong, or that I was abandoning people. And the reality is like, you're not. Like, someone is going to fill that position. And like, for example, I was on my own, like, someone else that had a roommate or, was in a different position, or, for example, like the job that I was doing, it was technically like I had a degree, but that job didn't require one. So, I was just in a position where I didn't need to be there, but I was guilting myself, making myself think that I was doing something wrong if I didn't, because it was a type of service that was important to me. But the thing is that I still do important service, and changing how I serve and changing what I do in the future, like there's unlimited potential and openness for what that could be. And right now, that is helping tons of people without them needing to pay for it in any way, which is super meaningful. And I still get what I need from it. And another example that I will say is that, a lot of other people that do internet stuff might look at me and think I'm an idiot because I, don't really take sponsorships, and I, don't post all the time, and I can be infrequent, and I can be like chaotic, and sometimes I'll say the C word too much and then get demonetized, and yeah, all that happens, but I have enough. And like, I think for you, when you recognize when enough is enough, and also knowing that there can be more in the future, and that it's a constant fluctuation, and also that nothing is more meaningful than like ensuring that you don't sacrifice like your integrity and what holds meaning to you. Because like for me, for example, like, yes, I could like take tons of sponsors and do stuff like that, but like, I don't want to be beholden to a company. I value my freedom, and I also don't want to like shirk a bunch of stuff that I don't even know. That doesn't mean I never will, especially, I'm like considering going back to school. So if I do that, I might have to be a little bit more strategic with what I do. It's been kind of a privilege that I haven't had to, but I've also accepted that in doing that, like I'm very like careful. Like I make sure to save most of what I make, and I'm not very reckless financially. Like I don't really drink or go out or do things like that. Like that's a very rare thing for me. And even then I'm still trying to be even more conservative, because I like having a bit of freedom in what I do, and not having to like slog and like slave away at something to the point where it doesn't become a passion. You know what I mean? And so I feel like you're in a similar position where you can make conscious, I guess, sacrifices, but it's like, am I really sacrificing something if it's like, if what I would be doing would be taking away from my quality of life and what is meaningful to me and what I care about? Like, I guess we all have things that matter to us differently, but the biggest thing with this group is that what works for you, what holds meaning for you, and what is fulfilling for you, other people may not get it, and it may not be for them. It's about what's for you personally. And ultimately, there will be times where you get caught up in yourself and you get frustrated and you wonder, like, am I messing everything up? Is everything going to shit? Like, am I gonna fail? Am I a failure? And those are just part of the experience. This is part of you being in your financial flow. This is the blockage aspect. This is weeding, you know, when you're in your garden and you see weeds growing. But instead of, you know, it being a literal garden, instead it's weeding out what in your mind makes you feel guilty or makes you feel bad or holds you back, because you might feel shame or guilt or fear that you're going to fail, and accepting those times where, you know, instead of burst, there's bust. Ultimately, it all serves. And I think that as you go through your process and find your own flow in your own system and what works for you, you will have these states where things are pretty fluid and you don't even really have to be super conscious of what you're doing. Like everything kind of comes naturally to you. Like, okay, Selena Gomez, like everything's coming naturally. And then things will shift and your heart will change and be like, now I'm feeling drawn in this direction. And you might be like, oh man, now there's change. Like, and that might be overwhelming or nerve-wracking, but you'll do it again and again. Because I think your heart is always going to lean towards what's fulfilling, not necessarily what's easy. And if something is easy and not fulfilling, it might actually become really hard to do. So yeah, ultimately your financial flow is tied to your well-being, your passion, and what has meaning for your heart. Your financial flow is one that is balanced, and balance isn't necessarily 50-50. It is more so the action of recognizing what is already here and finding balance within that. It's also recognizing when you don't need to push yourself further because you're already doing enough, or when it's recognizing, hey, we can do a huge burst here. And then while we have all this inspiration and energy and motivation, and then when we are like, okay, we need to take a step back, we can use what we've cultivated to relax for a little while and to, you know, let ourselves regenerate. I also think, though, that your financial flow is deeply tied to faith in yourself and in the divine, and how it's guiding you, because I definitely think that that is a process of co-creation that you are deeply interconnected to. And you are, even if you don't consciously understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, there's a greater wisdom to it that you'll understand later, and just be so happy you didn't go against what felt right to you. Because like there are going to be things where you're going to be given advice or told to do things in a certain way, and it's just going to feel wrong, or it's going to feel off, or you're just like, I don't want to do that at all. And you might be telling yourself, well, I'm missing out by doing that, you know, maybe I'm blocking opportunities. Maybe you are, but maybe there are opportunities that you wouldn't find fulfilling, or that, you know, might lead you in a direction that makes you confused. I definitely think for this group, like there's definitely nothing that's ever inherently wrong, unless it's like self-betrayal or like, you know, putting you or your love or those that in your care in danger. Instead, there's just learning and growing and understanding. Like even what you will perceive as your failures will teach you very valuable lessons that you then, you know, take into life with awareness of like, okay, I won't fall into that pitfall again. Okay, I'll learn from that mistake. Like a mistake that I've had to learn from is, you know, letting a loud minority of my audience dictate what I should and shouldn't be making. I do obviously like hearing from you guys and knowing what you want to hear, but you know, I love making love readings. I'm never gonna stop making them. Like they're very enjoyable to me. I love looking at dynamics. I also think there's so much cool wisdom that comes from them, and they're just interesting and fun, and you guys love them. But you know, I used to feel really guilty because people be like, you're doing too many of them, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, first of all, you don't get to dictate that. And second of all, like people are allowed to not be happy with the frequency at which I do them, and people are allowed to want different things from me. But the real problem was in me feeling guilty and me feeling bad and me letting that feeling get in the way of doing what I enjoyed and ending up making readings that I didn't enjoy as much. And like this, for example, I would say I kind of failed in that wisdom with this reading because I put way too much pressure on myself and kind of got out of my flow in order to do this reading. However, I chose to do it, and I wanted to do it, and I wanted to see what would happen. I don't know if it'll be worth it, but I hope that it's helpful. And like the thing is too, is that sometimes I will actively choose to do something that I know probably won't be as popular or won't be as interesting, or, you know, like may not even be as fun to me, but I do it because it's meaningful. You know, like certain spiritual readings where they're very unique and distinct, or something like this, you know, for me, I'm like, okay, like let's experiment. I'm not really interested in finances, but if I can help someone or, you know, find something interesting with it, that's meaningful. And I know some people have wanted this and I want to feed them too. You know, there's like just this conscious, like, and like the last reading I posted was doing well. So like, I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can do that and accept whatever the outcome is, because I feel good knowing that I've tried something new and, you know, offered something that's a bit different to those that have been wanting to see something different. So the only thing to get rid of is maybe the guilt or feeling like, but I didn't do it from a place of guilt. I felt guilty after the first time I filmed it and was like, this is bad, I need to do it again. And I'm glad I did it again, but I'm rambling now. But I just hope that what I'm sharing is helpful for you to recognize, like, things do fluctuate. There are ebbs and flows. You can't judge yourself by where you're at. It's only upon reflection that you will see more clearly, and also recognize, like, oh, okay, maybe I stress myself out too much here. Oh, okay, you know, maybe I should just be a little bit gentler with myself. Or, oh, okay, you know, this might be a time of restriction where I need to really just persevere and see the wisdom in my own madness. Like, you definitely have this eccentric, like, nature to you, and this very charismatic nature to you that can really make things happen even when you don't understand, like, how they will happen. And on top of that, once you kind of start learning by that, the more confident you will be in yourself, even when you don't quite understand what direction you're going in. I definitely think too that when you have a vision, the sooner you can start making plans that you don't necessarily always have to stick to strictly, but rather just give you some sort of like general structure that might just be helpful in keeping you on track, and then using that also as a gauge of like, okay, is this a sustainable structure for me moving forward? I do think too, though, part of your flow will require you at times to do less to conserve energy and care for yourself, and then other times you will have more energy, more motivation, more inspiration, and you will move forward and do more, where other people might be like, whoa, you're doing too much, like you're pushing yourself too hard. But really, you're not pushing yourself at all. It feels natural. You're in your flow, even if it seems a lot and extreme to others. It's not like you're doing that all the time. Like I said, part of your flow is about sprinting and relaxing. You kind of are more of the hare than the tortoise, but that's okay. Like, bunnies are cute as hell, and I'm sure you are too, and not everybody needs to be the tortoise. If everyone was the tortoise, there would be no spice to life and no variety. And it's not about winning the race, it's about doing what's best for you. May have not been the best fable to speak of, but we're going to go ahead now and move into your guidance, because I think we've yapped enough and I think you get the point. So this guidance is just going to look at guidance for manifesting, attracting, things of that nature, anything spirit wants to bring you. When I surrender my will to the care of spirit in the universe, I tune my energy with an ever-present stream of well-being. So I think one thing about this too is that there will be times where your will wants to do something that is not conducive, or that, you know, like, doesn't feel great, or that, you know, like, just your will sometimes will want to push when your body needs rest. And there will be times where your will want you to hold back when your body is like, no, let's do this, let's go after this, even though it scares you. So definitely pay attention to when your will is overpowering your flow, because that might cause you to fall out of it. Like, I would say this reading is an example where my will overpowered my flow, but I'm okay with it because I'm learning. But I also think it's like, maybe it was my flow. Maybe it was my flow, because, like, if I was that convinced that I needed to redo it, maybe I was right. Maybe I did. I don't know. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. To begin the practice of allowing, I must get out of the way and let spirit give me direction. So yeah, especially if you're lost. It makes me think of that, like, that quote from the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, where Alice is like asking where to go, and the cat's like, well, where are you going? And Alice is like, I don't know. And the cat's like, well, if you don't know where you're going, then anywhere will get you there. So maybe let go and stay put until you see a direction. I don't know. Or just keep going the way you're going. Or ask yourself, how are you getting in your own way? What habits are keeping you disconnected from your heart? What could you do to nourish it a little bit more? Because your heart's definitely going to be your most powerful guide. Yes, we also have success. I open the floodgates and call all kinds of success into my life. Little everyday at work success, big career defining success, wild, unimagined, unexpected success. All success is welcomed here. As long as it doesn't park in the neighbor's driveway, he will yell at us and break up the party. Fail. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think like different kinds of success and looking at your relationship to that and how you define it will be helpful in you having a more grounded perspective of what's best for you, and also finding more meaning and giving yourself opportunities to celebrate and just like give yourself credit, I think are really important, especially if you do work for yourself or end up shifting into a more like entrepreneurial space, because like you won't have someone standing there telling you like what is a success and what isn't. Like you really have to be your own biggest cheerleader and celebrate your wins. We also have first quarter moon in Leo, be humble. So I definitely think part of this is around like giving yourself the freedom to do things that you feel too prideful to do. Like, oh, I don't want to like put myself out there in that way because I think that's cringe, or like, you know, like I feel like humbling yourself like doesn't always have to be something because like you're arrogant or prideful. I think if anything, like if you take yourself too seriously or like are too hard on yourself, which like even I'm guilty of that, like take a step back and just recognize, hey, I'm just a person and I'm just doing my best, and that's enough and that's okay. Like there's so much artificial pressure put on us, especially by like media and stuff like that. You know, there are no Joneses to keep up with. Like you just got to find your flow, and also just give yourself the freedom to like try and experiment without judging yourself so hard. Be gentler with yourself. And finally, we have the heart, which does not shock me. The theme is elevate, and the trigger statement is I feel so low, and the true statement is I persevere. Release worry and fear and allow confidence, trust, and strength to take you to your goal, which like honestly probably symbolizes better like what I've been trying to say in this whole reading. And I do think it positively, it exemplifies perfectly this 7 of Wands, 8 of Cups energy, where when you are in your lows, that doesn't mean you're failing. That doesn't mean that everything is going to shit. It's just part of the cycle. And during those times, you just have to persevere and care for yourself and weed out what is self-destructive and defeating, so that you can move through this time as gently as possible and get to your next high, your next win, your next source of inspiration, new beginning, burst, you know, the next blooms and the next harvest, because it will always come. It's just a matter of being patient with each cycle and recognizing that not everything is meant to be in bloom and in harvest all the time, and it's a process of growth and change. So we're gonna finish off with a final guidance card. So for group number 1, Spirit, what animal has a message for group number 1 moving forward? What guidance does it have, please? Ooh, you got the dragon. I love dragons. Leadership, integrity, power. I own my power with dignity and grace. So yeah, definitely focus on what's in your power. You might also, if you haven't, look at my reading about like standing in your power or messages about your power. There's dragon cards in it, and I did it recently. An excellent example of a reading that I knew probably wouldn't do very well, but I did because it was meaningful and nourishing. Like, there's a lot of readings that I do where I'm like, a lot of people probably aren't going to see this, but they're kind of honestly some of my favorites that I love doing so much, because like I think that they're really meaningful and like beefy and like powerful, and I like them. Okay. It is safe for you to be powerful. You can be powerful and kind, good, humble, and gracious. True power achieves greatness and flows from the heart of the universe, not from human ego. Your heart is connected to the universe, and you can flow from that. That's where your finances are, your financial balance, your financial well-being, your financial flow. Surrender any attachment to being admired, and you shall attract an abundance of recognition and respect. You have abilities that are beyond the ordinary. You shall be guided on how to best express them. I guess that could also be part of that be humble message too. Like, you know, don't take action from fear of how you're perceived. I need that message as well. And instead, like, be respectful towards yourself. You shall be guided on how to best express them and fulfill your destiny and assist all beings. Remember, you can only give according to what you can receive. Take time to balance and vitalize your internal energies. So yeah, I feel like that summarizes pretty much everything I've said. But group 1, that is where I'm going to leave this reading. So thank you guys so much for watching, for putting up with my yapping, and for letting my ads play for at least 30 seconds, because that is the most beneficial and supportive way to allow finances to flow to me. Thank you to everyone who does that. But if you'd like to support me in other ways, liking the video is very helpful, commenting down below, letting me know how it resonates, or if you want to add any guidance for others that picked group 1 and just say how, this reading worked for you, how you've come to, what lessons you've learned from your own flow, definitely feel free to share them. You can check out other videos. You can check out my merch, social media, candles, all good things like that. You can check out readings with extendeds. You can share me with others. You can send love and good vibes my way. I'm definitely sending them back to you. So, you can also tip me. My Cashapp is palehag, or my PayPal, which is linked below. If you cash up though, I can respond with a little emoji. I can't respond through PayPal. So, but yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I really, really hope this reading helped. I love you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is you're watching, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye. Hi there, pile 2. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the garnet hexagon and the Yggdrasil card, this is going to be your reading on the energy surrounding your finances, what your financial flow is, and how to use the energy surrounding your finances to your benefit. So I'm going to lay your cards out, and then we're going to get into your reading. Okay, group 2. Very interesting energies, and I really hope that I can do it justice. One of the things I will say though is that I do feel like for this group there might be varied circumstances. This group heavily differs from the first, mainly because I do feel like your financial circumstances are more so tied to circumstances outside of your control. The biggest factor outside of your control being that either whatever you do for a career, or the way in which your finances are situated, they may be more affected by the ebbs and flows of what's happening in the world around you. So for example, if a lot of your money is in investments, what's happening in the world will affect your financial flow. But one of the things about investing is you're supposed to just let it sit. At least I think. That's what I do, because the last thing I want to do is spend my conscious waking thoughts on that stuff, because whenever I talk to my financial advisor, I have to work really hard to hear the words she's actually saying, because my brain hears the Peanuts parrot, and it's wah, 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 and I have to it's like my brain's doing planks to strain to understand, and I'm I just trust what you do, just do whatever you think is best. So that's an example of something that you might experience, or if you work in an industry where there's a lot of, it's being heavily affected by things happening in the world. Part of your financial flow may just be tied to what is happening in the world. So that might be something where if you can predict or be aware oh, these tariffs here are gonna impact my industry or my business or my company or something like that. Part of your financial flow might be tied to making conscious decisions to prepare for those things, or making conscious decisions around is this an industry or a thing I want to stay in? I feel like for some of you, you're not changing what you do, what your job is, or how you make money. The big change here is tied to how you see your job, and also how you, it's a lot more internal. It's a lot about how you think and how you approach the things you cannot control. But for others, I do feel like there are overt changes that maybe you are on the threshold of making, like changing your job, trying a different career, moving in a different direction, on top of internal shifts as well. For all of you, I do think that your financial flow at this time, not forever, but at this time, is more fixed and connected to circumstances outside of your control, like I already said. But with that being said, I do think the impact that it has is less powerful than your power of will. But I say that with a bit of nuance to say, you know, for example, if you are in a place where you know, like, okay, I'm not going to be making as much money because like sales are lower or something like that, that may not mean that like you're like, I'm just going to manifest more customers, which I actually think you could if you wanted to. That is something that's there. But also there is an energy connected to your financial, like connected to your finances around your mentality, what you believe to be possible, and how you approach times of financial strain or hardship. Because I don't think that there is an energy of financial strain and hardship coming unless you are currently in one. And I would say that's not something that's coming, that's something that you're dealing with, that is requiring you to look at a shift in how you're doing things. For all of you here, your finances are connected to making important internal changes and potentially external changes depending on your situation. For some of you, this might even involve moving to a different place to have better opportunities. For others, it might be putting yourself out there in new ways. The biggest thing with this Spessartine time, I don't know how to say it. I have two gifts, or one of my gifts is that I cannot pronounce crystals correctly or Pokemon correctly. So yeah, one of my beautiful gifts. The thing about this crystal and what it's saying about you is that you will be at your financially strongest when you're connected to your authentic self. Whenever you're trying to create or manifest from a place of inauthenticity or within an environment where you have to hide who you are or suppress the true you, it's either going to be significantly weaker or not work at all. Yggdrasil talks about balance, harmony, and interconnectedness. And there might be an overemphasis, at least in your mind, around what is possible for you based on external opinion or based on what others are saying. And while there might be truth in what they're saying, that doesn't mean it has to be true for you, or even if it is true for you in terms of effects you have to deal with, it's also possible too that you might be fine and be creating a lot of internal stress and fear around your situation that creates just a lot of like negative experience, stressful experiences, tension, worry, fear that ends up not coming to fruition and just drains the hell out of you and makes life miserable for a period of time while things shift and change. Like I feel like with this group, like an excellent example of this energy is like, at least in the States, people have been saying like, oh, the housing market's gonna crash, for like 4 or 5 years. And at least from what I've seen, it hasn't. Maybe it's prices have gone down a little bit, but as far as I've seen, they're still going up. People have been talking about a recession for years. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't know what is done to maybe reduce that. But like the talk of like people were saying like 2022, the recession's going to be here tomorrow. Like there's a lot of fear mongering and doomerism, especially around the economy and money. And that's not to say that like people aren't struggling. And I don't want to say like if you are struggling right now, like I completely understand. And like there are certainly a lot of factors outside of our control that are contributing to that. But for you, your financial flow is connected to this powerful aspect of your spirit that shines. It's literally reminding me of Little Orphan Annie. Like you are little Orphan Annie. Like when you work that magic, you attract Daddy Warbucks. That's like all I'm gonna say. Like, you know, people cannot resist your charm. And the thing about you is that while I do feel like there are certain aspects of your financial situation that are not connected to your ability to just shift your consciousness, I do think that in whatever your situation is, your ability to shift your consciousness to one that is more optimistic, is aligned with a faith-based system that gives you hope and the desire to persevere, and also a determination to be in a position where you don't have to hide who you are or deny who you are, where you're allowed to be yourself and share more of yourself. All of that is really conducive to either making it through a more challenging time outside of your control, attracting opportunities to supplement any hardships you have during that time, or making a powerful change into a different situation that would be more beneficial for you. Walking in a new direction that maybe makes you afraid or causes you to have some sort of ending in how you're doing things. I also think that your financial flow is connected to imbalances in your life in general. It might seem counterproductive, but like you might even find that if there are certain factors outside of your control you can't change, why are you pushing so hard? Maybe take this opportunity to rest a little bit more. That might actually be more beneficial. It might give you literally just the energy to be more of yourself and put yourself out there. But there's also a powerful energy connected to your ability to cultivate more financial resources that is tied to wounds around family and wounds around your worth, wounds around like what is possible for you. I definitely think that for all of you, your ability to have more is directly connected to your ability to believe that you can have more. I feel like for some of you, for example, your financial flow could automatically increase if maybe you were more outgoing at your job or brave enough to be like, hey, I want to raise, you'd probably say it in a more charismatic way, or being willing to take the lead and put yourself out there in certain ways. Because I think one thing that you maybe don't recognize about yourself is that you just have this wonderful charm about you that I do think that other people could be jealous of. Or maybe you were taught that like that part of you, you couldn't be that part of you because it was selfish or indulgent or didn't fit a certain role that you were expected to be in your family. And so you've kind of taken that on as like an expectation of, oh, I have to be more serious, or I have to be this certain way. I can't do things that indulge myself and my authenticity because other people need me, or I have to like martyr or sacrifice myself in certain ways. I definitely think for all of you, you're being brought at this time to literally a fork in the road where you know that there are things that need to change. And when it comes to the changes that are within your control, making these changes could be profound in terms of financial stability through times of intense uncertainty, or experiencing complete financial revolutions in your own life because of how you're putting yourself out there, how you are choosing to make money, or the risks and opportunities you're willing to take as a result of trusting in yourself or following a path that's more aligned with you. I definitely don't think that your financial flow is connected to like extreme risk taking to your detriment. I do think that there is some level of pragmatism and self-care that is important here. But I also think that for a lot of you, you might find that there are certain opportunities you're holding back on, or certain opportunities that maybe you perceive as more selfish, because even though it might be good for you, maybe there are people who don't have, I wouldn't say like direct dependents, like children or something like that, but you know, maybe you have family members that you're trying to help, or maybe you are like for example, maybe you are expected to help with your family household, but you're really wanting to go somewhere else to have a different opportunity, and you're being shamed for that and told like, you know, you need to stay here, you need to help the family out. But maybe what you're doing would be more helpful actually, or maybe you even need to reassess how much you're giving to others, especially if they're not really supporting you in return. Now, I know in me saying that, like, there are different cultural expectations for different people, and like, obviously that can be a lot easier said than done. So I'm not like gonna sit here and say like, oh yeah, just like ignore all convention and expectation, and like, like, obviously what's best for you, but I do think that in terms of your financial flow, you might be holding yourself to certain rules or feelings of shame or feelings of obligation that make it a lot easier for you to justify self-neglect, and also justify why you can't do certain things that actually you could do. And you might even realize that in doing this, life flows a lot more easily. I do think that, like, while there are certain factors outside of your control, you might obsess over those factors and not look at which is within your control, that you have the opportunity to make changes in, or look at differently, or shift differently, if you are willing to do that. I think the only way that I know what I'm saying might be kind of sounding confusing, but let me use this example. And it's a relationship example, but I hope it'll make sense. If you've ever heard of that, like, stereotypical empath narcissist relationship, right? I was in one of those once upon a time. And when I was in that, I really loved that. Well, I didn't love this, but that relationship allowed me to completely neglect myself in a way where I could justify doing so because someone else needed me more. I could give all of myself to helping someone else and supporting my partner, and that gave me the excuse of not having to look at me. And so in that process, it was very easy to ignore my own suffering or ignore my own dysfunction, because I always had the justification of, well, I need to do this. Someone else needs me more. And I felt like I was doing something good. I felt I was able to pretend like my own dysfunction wasn't there because I was giving my all to someone else who needed me more. And so I kind of, in terms of your financial situation, I kind of see that almost as like, you could be focusing on everything that's wrong outside of you, and also focusing on others who need more help than you, and using that almost as a way to kind of avoid what within you you could change or you could shift, or what dysfunction that lies within you that isn't helpful. And I feel like the universe is bringing you to a point where you really are going to have to get honest with yourself and recognize, ooh, okay, I have been neglecting myself. Like, I definitely think that self-neglect is something that will lead to more financial challenge. Like, and the thing is that it may not always even be tied to finances. It could just be tied to like for example, your health, your ability to function well because of a stressful time. Like, if a time is unnecessarily stressful, it's like, okay, well, you might lose more money during that time because you are using vices to compensate. So maybe you're spending more money on things than you would be if you were in a more peaceful place, for example. Maybe you are, like, that's just like one example, but it's almost like neglecting your own dysfunction and then projecting it outwards in a way to be like that hero for others, or be helpful for others, or almost martyr yourself, go above and beyond. That is something that will lead to you. It will feel like you're doing something fulfilling and accomplishing something, but it's like you're spinning your wheels and you're not moving an inch. And then you might wonder, like, and then you can look at all of that stuff and say, well, it's these factors that are happening in the world. Other people need me. And you might have to ask yourself, do they really need you? Or are you afraid to ask yourself what would happen? Do they really need you, or are you enabling them? That's one question that you do need to ask. And also, are you over giving? You know, maybe they do need you in some capacity. Maybe they do need your help, but maybe the help that you're giving is beyond what you're capable of giving. That's another thing too. I definitely think that there are outdated ideas about yourself and about how you need to show up in the world and about what is just inherently possible for you that make it harder for you to make the change you know you're capable of. And I think like that this is part of what's so frustrating about this energy for you, because you know that you're full of potential, and you know, like, I feel like you feel it like deep in your spirit, like success is yours to have and you will have it. But it just seems like getting your footing and finding balance is such a challenge. And then it seems like there are shifts in the world that happen that do negatively impact like your progress. But the thing is that you might go a step further and make that worse for yourself by either neglecting your well-being or giving away or overextending yourself in ways that you really shouldn't be, as a way to not have to look at maybe what your circumstances are showing you about yourself that maybe you don't want to see. I think part of what you don't want to see is that like you need more than what you're allowing yourself. And by more, I mean more time, more space, more opportunities for joy. I was literally just thinking about this last night. In The Sims, one of the need bars they have is fun. And I think it's really easy as adults to be like, well, I can't have fun because I have to do X, Y, Z. Yes, we do have responsibilities, but I think that if the vast majority of adults had Sims level need bars, we would be shocked at how many of them are in the red in terms of fun. So like one example that I think that you don't see is like you do need to be able to give yourself a little bit of space and just do something for you, whether it's playing a video game, seeing a friend that makes you feel good, like spending time with someone else, going and doing something for you rather than for others. I think if you are the type of person to justify expenses that are helping others but can never justify expenses that would be for you, that's definitely something to look at. That is something that is harming your financial flow simply because you are not able to get your needs met. And because you're not able to get your needs met, it's way too exhausting to have to look at maybe what within you needs to shift. I definitely think that if there are any endings in the near future, like if you are changing your job or walking away from something or resetting boundaries, I think all of that is going to help with your financial success and your financial well-being in the future. But I also think that the universe is supporting you in this process. And I think that you are being taught to find a balance, because like there isn't anything wrong with helping others, and there isn't anything wrong with like, you know, being someone that others can lean on, but there is something wrong with that when it veers into martyrdom. And I also think for you, what you do to make money doesn't have to be soul crushing, and it also doesn't have to be something that requires you to be someone you're not. And I think that there's actually a deeper unraveling here, because I think that you kind of have an idea of who you think you are, and a lot of who you think you are isn't really you. It's just a bunch of expectations or judgments you've made about yourself that are as a result of wounding from childhood and expectations placed upon you either from family or society or both. And you've taken all those on as, well, this is just who I am. And it's more so the role that you feel safest in, because that's the one that gives you the most approval and acceptance, or makes you feel the most valued and needed. And I think that there are aspects of that are actually draining the life out of you and making it really hard for you to feel like you can have hope, or that things in your circumstances can change. And then that feeds into this greater global narrative around everything, like the world is ending, everything is going to shit, like everything is failing, like nothing will ever get better, like we are all doomed. And like, that's not to say that things aren't rough and that things do need to change and things do need to improve. But there's also so much we don't see in terms of how people turn their lives around, in terms of changes people make, in terms of healing happening, in terms of growth happening, in terms of goodness and kindness that exists in the world, because that doesn't get clicks. That's not what people tune in to media for, right? And I think that that sort of external energy can really validate that sense of hopelessness within you in ways that almost make the idea that things could be different confronting or uncomfortable, because the truth of your authentic self is very different, or stepping into your authenticity would require rediscovering parts of yourself that you detached from a long time ago because there was pain in being that version of yourself, or that part of you experienced rejection or invalidation or was shamed for that. And so you kind of have to face and release those wounds in order to step into those parts of yourself. And so the universe is kind of setting you up to make important changes and endings and release a lot of wounds and a lot of beliefs about yourself and about how you need to show up that no longer serve. And the universe is also using opportunities for joy and for fun, for connection and for inspiration, and for new belief systems that are different from what you've been taught. But you'll know that it's a good belief system to test out or try out, to step into, because it will feel lighter. It will feel more energizing and more motivating. And I also think when it does come to certain aspects of your finances, there is just times where you will have to persevere and just, like move through a cycle as it comes. But that's where being in your authentic self, shining, finding optimism, finding the good, finding the hope in things, like that's part of what makes life just like worth living. It also makes times of challenge easier and less debilitating. But on top of that, there are opportunities everywhere, all around you all the time. And part of you stepping into your authentic self is you'll start attracting opportunities that fell out of your reach or nearly impossible to receive, even if you were already trying to get these opportunities. It's like they'll come to you seamlessly. There's like a deeper process happening that it is connected to your financial energy, but it's also connected to every aspect of your life, where you're kind of, you're like a computer with an outdated operating system. And so you're going through huge upgrades right now to be able to release what you don't need and to be able to run a more efficient system internally that will allow you to behave in the external world in ways that do not neglect you, do not disempower you, but also allow you to live a life that is more enjoyable, more sustainable, and that allows you to make money and maybe even more money than you could imagine in ways that don't require you to be so self-sacrificial. I also think, though, if you are going to stay in where you are in terms of your career, I do think these personal shifts and changes will open you up to new opportunities and even have people in leadership see you differently and what you offer differently. They'll notice you differently. The belief you begin to have in yourself and the freedom you have in sharing who you really are, other people are actually going to find that infectious and want to believe in you too. I also think as well, with this Queen of Pentacles being here, you may also find more financial abundance through a relationship or through partnership in general. That might be something that is supportive in this process, or just, someone in your life that cares about you, that could, maybe support you or help you during a challenging time. If you push away help like that from shame or guilt, that's maybe something you want to look at and say, why are you doing that to yourself, especially if it's being offered, or especially if it's being given willingly. Experiencing nurturing and help, that's part of human nature. That's part of being connected to life, and that's part of that can be the difference between a challenging trek and a breezy, enjoyable walk. I definitely think that spiritually you are evolving, and there are a lot of ways in which you've been living that are suppressing to your spirit, disrespectful to your humanity, and that are just not going to cut it in order for you, if you want to reach your goals and be in a more stable and empowered position in life in general. Because the truth is that your finances are connected to every other part of your life and your world, and they're definitely deeply interconnected to your true self and like who you really are. Think of the difference. I'm thinking of, if you've ever seen The Simpsons, Gil, he's a salesman, and basically his whole trope is that he's a terrible salesman. He has no self-confidence, and he's always beating himself up. And I always wondered, why doesn't Gil do something else? He's clearly not meant to be a salesman, and he's always doing sales and failing miserably at it. And it's Gil does not seem like a person that was designed to do sales. And I mean, obviously that's a joke. That's what makes it funny. But you might be forcing yourself into a career or a position where you're just not suited to. It makes me think of when I naively thought that I could handle medical school, or handle even not just medical school, but the process of pre-med. One chemistry class, bro, I'm glad those weed out classes existed, because could you imagine if I went through all that schooling and then I got to medical school and literally passed out at the site of surgery? Because literally people talk about bodily processes and I start to feel weak, and I'm like, why did I think I could do that? Why did I think I could just push through that? I don't know. But you might cognitively convince yourself of certain things that keep you trapped in a cycle of self-neglect, disconnection, frustration, and feelings of hopelessness and feeling lost. And it's mainly because you're not in the right place for you. And even if you are in the group where you are in a position where you are in the right place, but maybe you do need to shift how you're looking at things and how you see yourself and how you see your potential. All of that is important, I believe, as well. With this High Priestess here, you also have a really powerful intuition. And I think that there is a part of you that ignores it because of what it asks you to do. But I also think, too, there is this message about holding back and keeping safe what you want to protect and what needs time to grow. For some of you, you might have had experiences as a child where you talked about who you wanted to be or what you wanted to do, and maybe you were ashamed, or maybe you were laughed at, or maybe you were told you can't do that, that's not possible for you. And so now maybe you still have that happening, where you have dreams of doing something different, or you have dreams of changing what you're doing, or just or maybe you just walk through life feeling like a shell of yourself. And I think a big reason why that is because your spirit is not really allowed to shine. Your true self isn't allowed to shine. And, there's definitely wounding there, where spirit is going to bring that to the surface. And the thing is that I don't really think, if there are objective healing things you need to do, I think you will know what they are, or kind of have a general idea. For example, maybe you know you do need to have more fun, or maybe you do need to start therapy, or maybe you do need to give yourself a break, or at least create more private time for you to tap into parts of yourself you forgot you had. I definitely think the universe will be priming you to see these things. And I also think that there are going to be lots of opportunities for you to make a choice. Do you choose the devil you know? Or do you try something new? Do you take a risk and see what happens? You know, I also think this group needs to hear that no is a complete sentence and you don't need a justification for why you need to do something. I do think that life can be more playful for you. And I also think that it's a lot harder for you to maintain a sense of optimism when you don't have a belief system or a greater faith system that nourishes that optimism. So, you know, maybe you need to explore spiritual concepts, religion that has meaning to you. Maybe you don't want that to be related to any dogma, but you definitely need sources of inspiration, especially if you don't have that vision for yourself, or maybe you lost it. Sometimes others can supplement that, other people that inspire you, or even look at who you're jealous of or even envious of, because those feelings give you a message. And what those feelings say are, there's something within me that's not being expressed, that is being expressed in this person. And ask yourself, what within me is not being expressed? How are they being seen, and how are they showing up in the world in a way that I wish I was? You know, a lot of times we can make justifications and say, well, I can't do that because X, Y, Z, or this can't happen for me. And a lot of times it's not true. You know, maybe how it looks is different, or maybe how the semantics of how you apply it to your life is different. But there's usually like a core theme of what is being desired. And that, tapping into the understanding of what that is, can actually be powerful in terms of shifting your entire reality. So I guess for this group, the energy around your finances is deeply interconnected to every other part of your life. And I feel like your financial energy is meant to be more balanced, but I also think that balance is meant to be one where you get to tap into your greatest strengths, and you don't have to work so hard to show up every day and to move forward in life. Like, I feel like where you're meant to be is a lot more sustainable to who you really are. And maybe that requires a promotion that you're willing to put yourself out on a limb for. Maybe that requires a complete change that you're willing to make. Or maybe it just requires you being willing to dream again and ask yourself, what do I really want? Or what's being neglected here? In terms of your financial well-being, I definitely think that, you know, you may just want a quick fix, or like, okay, no, like, do I need to wake up earlier? Do I need to work out more? Do I need to save more or invest in this stock? Like, and what it really comes down to is yeah, you could do things like that, but if you want to see a real profound life-altering change that completely shifts your relationship to the material world, that shifts your financial world in a way where you get more with less energy and more easily, like things coming to you easily, it starts with a change within you and your perspective, and that will lead to greater understanding of, for you in your journey and in your role, what you need. And looking at, okay, what are needs that I have that I wrote off as selfish? Is this environment conducive to who I want to become and my growth? Because being stuck in the wrong environment is an excellent example of how you can be convinced that you're doing something wrong, or, you know, cause you to have low self-esteem. You know, if you're a fish being judged on your ability to climb a tree, you know, you might need to ask yourself, well, why am I not in a body of water? Why am I trying to climb a tree? I don't know if what I'm saying is helpful or supportive, but I imagine if you've gotten this far that it probably is. But what I will say is that your financial energy is directly tied to you and your authenticity and what makes you want to get out of bed every day, what makes you hope and dream and feel like there is more out there for you than what you've been subjected to and what you've had. And I think what you're going to be spooked by is how interconnected these belief systems are to experiences that you would have never, like painful experiences from your past that you would have never imagined had such an impact on how you've ended up moving in the world and what you've ended up believing about yourself. But your financial flow is definitely directly connected to these core foundational beliefs about yourself, and how aligned they are with what has meaning for you, what gives you hope, what you place your faith in, things like that. And what I will say is that like one of the best and worst parts about you is that you have an unreal amount of strength and endurance. And so you can endure a situation you've long outgrown or that is not sustainable for you and convince yourself that you're fine and that you can handle it, because like even though you're not fine, like you've decided that you're fine, and so you just keep going and carry weights that were never yours, and just make the process slower for yourself because it just takes you longer to take a step back and be like, oh hey, what if we didn't have to do things this way? I definitely think for this group, one of your challenges is that you can become very narrow-minded in terms of like, and not that you're a narrow-minded person in general, but I do think that you can almost have like blinders on when it comes to what's possible for you. Whereas for other people, you might be like, oh yeah, sky's the limit, they can do anything. Start asking yourself, why not me though? Why can't I? And a lot of times what you'll find is that there's not a real barrier there. There's an imagined barrier there. And maybe the barrier is sometimes how you might be perceived, or facing rejection, or facing uncertainty, or not being entirely in control of a situation. But maybe that's exactly what you need to figure out what parts of you you've been missing. And I think it's those missing parts of you that will help you realize what you've needed all along. And when you find what you've needed all along, it becomes a lot easier to know where you're needed in the world and how you can play a more sustainable role in society's ecosystem, in the world tree, and have this win-win outcome where you're able to serve in meaningful ways and receive in ways that are sustainable for you and likely more financially beneficial for you. I definitely think you have no idea how high you can fly, and you also have no idea the journey you're about to go on. And I think it's going to be a lot more serendipitous than you realize. And like, I just have this vision of someone laughing and crying at the same time, because I feel like there's going to be so much liberation and grief all at once, because you're going to be grieving, you know, the beliefs that you harbored under that made your life harder than necessary, but also be laughing at the relief of, wow, I can finally let go of that. Wow, a new page is turning. Wow, the sun is literally coming out. Like, my dear sweet Annie, the sun is not coming out tomorrow. It can come out today if you want. It's actually coming out right now from the clouds. But yeah, I definitely think that this starts with being able to, one suggestion that I have is whatever you look at as a personal indulgence, you're not allowed to have. Especially if they are things like human connection or fun, or just, you know, things that make you feel human, like being playful, or that make you feel young. Start with those things. I think you will start to realize, oh, this undernourished part of me is so undernourished that I forgot it was there. And you're gonna, and maybe also one of the things that I would challenge you to look at is what is your relationship to pleasure, and how good can you allow yourself to feel? Because there also might be part of you that might feel like you're doing something wrong if life feels good. You don't have to achieve and earn from a place of suffering. And that is another belief I would look at too. So let's go ahead now and get your guidance. So we're going to start with these guidance cards. And the first is about attracting. And it says, I feel my way into faith one step at a time. So yes, my sweet little Jordan Sparkses of the world. You know, this is going to be a one step at a time process for you. And I think if you're looking for overnight change, I do think that there will be certain overnight changes that will deepen your faith in what you're building. But I also think your faith system is very unique to you, and it might be something that's constantly shifting and a part of the process. But the best thing to have faith in is your powerful spirit and the ways in which the universe is guiding you to see it in new ways and give you opportunities to step into new pathways that lead to unknowns and outcomes that will actually build your faith. We also have feeling the well. Feeling like your brain could use a tiny jumpstart or a medical transplant, it might be time to take a break or go explore some completely unrelated territory for a few days. Wells can only provide so much water before they dry up, and brains are the same way. Regardless, your brain could use a kick in the brain pants, so step away from your routine and head to the nearest museum, park, concert, or chowder cook-off. Do it now, hurry, before your boss sees you climbing out the window. Brains don't dry up, but the metaphor holds true. Yeah, so this is exactly what I was saying. You definitely need time to nurture yourself. And it's not even just about your brain, though. It's also about, like, your heart and your ability to just feel differently than, oh, another day in the grind, another day of obligation. I would also, too, look at what obligations are not truly obligations, but rather expectations you place upon yourself, and how do those expectations reinforce a version of yourself that doesn't feel like you, and that also keeps you away from an experience of feeling better, feeling more nourished. Because I think that there are true obligations in life, but I also think that there are expectations that we convince ourselves are obligations, and a lot of times the consequence of not seeing them as obligations is that we may have to accept the discomfort of disappointing someone else. We may have to accept the discomfort of not finding our worth in overextending ourselves for others. Things like that, if that makes sense. We also have take inspired action. So yeah, do things that make you feel alive, make you feel good. I also just think as well, like, I think even small shifts that just would be more supportive for you will make a huge difference. Like, give yourself the freedom to sleep more if you need it. Go to bed earlier, or give yourself permission to say no to social obligations that drain you. Give yourself permission to take time off to see a friend or go on a trip or do something that has meaning for you. You might find, like, or maybe even doing like a solo trip if it's viable. You never know what opportunities might be there. What I will say, though, is that for some of you, if there is an ending outside of your control, it might be the perfect opportunity for you to do something that you've always put off or said you would get to but never had. It's like, where I'm hearing the Queen, Janis Joplin. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. So you and Bobby McGee have some self-exploration to do, and I think one thing you'll realize is like, man, life gets a lot better when I realize there's nothing to lose from being myself. In fact, you have everything to gain. You have nothing to lose. Okay, see, hope. That's literally your theme. Hope. The trigger statement is, I will not forget, and the true statement is, I open my heart. Release the suffering and take another step forward, sweet one. With each step, you will see more light and healing. Yeah, and that I feel my way into faith one step at a time. So, like, I definitely think that this flow is not going to radically shift overnight, but that's also because this change is powerful and sustainable. And it's something you're doing. It's not something that's going to happen by magic outside of you. You are the magic. And the more you realize, like, it's your own inner magic that will guide you to more sustainable forms of financial well-being and income. And also there might be more sustainable ways of earning money and serving others in ways that are meaningful for you. Like, that will be a really powerful form of faith. And I definitely think, like, being patient with that process and being patient with what you're learning is important as well. But I know you've got this, and I know you can do it. So we're going to finish your reading off. I hope it made sense. I don't really know what I said this whole time, but I hope it was beneficial. We're going to finish off with, like, a little animal. It's going to be your abundance buddy, your prosperity buddy, and see what affirmation and message it has for you. So who is group number 2's? Okay, you have the moth, baby. We have sensitivity, boundaries, turn to the light. I focus on the light. Trust your instincts. Even if you lack clarity at this time, you are making progress and can trust your feelings to guide the way. If something feels right, move towards it. If something seems off, step back. There is no need to justify your feelings with logic. You might exhaust yourself trying to do that, actually. You are going through a time of heightened psychic and emotional sensitivity, so be sure to give to yourself to replenish, nurture, and protect all of your being. You have an innate ability to find a source of spiritual light even during darker times in life. Yeah, this is basically reaffirming everything that I said, but probably better and more eloquently. But I also think that one thing that this is telling you as well is that there are gonna be things that felt right to your ego. Like, for example, you know, being the hero for other people, showing up, martyring yourself, because it's giving you this sense of purpose and giving you this idea of like, oh yeah, I'm valued, I have worth. And what you're going to find is as you step into it, it's not going to be satisfying in the same way. And if anything, you're going to be like, why did I do that? Why did I put myself in that position? I really need to grab a certain deck while I'm talking before I leave you. Because I think it's going to be really helpful for you. But the challenge is I have to find it. You're really just honestly going to be shocked at how easy your life gets when you don't fight who you are and what your needs are and what you can do when you're not giving away all of your internal resources to other people. Crap, I don't know if I know where it is. It's a really great deck though. And I thought it would be great for you guys, but I don't see it. So I guess, I do see it. It was on the floor. That's why I don't put things away. That's why I don't put things away, because I put them away. Well, actually, no, I did put things away for once, and this one I didn't put away. Funny how that works. But I think that this deck might be really good for you. It's called the Self-Forgiveness Oracle deck, Love Your Ego edition. And it just gives you the opportunity to see in a new way. So I'm feeling called to pull you 2 cards from this deck, so that's what I'm going to do. So what does group number 2 need to forgive themselves for? I forgive myself for feeling as though the only path available to me is one that has been paved by those before me. I choose to believe when I take the risk to pursue what feels possible in my heart, I expand the realm of possibility for the collective. Yup. Okay, one more. What else does group number 2 need to forgive themselves for? I forgive myself for giving my power away by valuing the opinions of others over my own. I choose to believe that when I trust myself to clarify and stand by my own truth, I allow for the creation of a world I actually want to live in. So yeah, both of your cards talked about conformity and holding on to opinions outside of yourself and what others have done. So this is really about reclaiming you. And I think what you're going to realize too is that wow, it's a lot easier to move through life when I'm doing something that works for me instead of what works for others. And yeah, you guys are going to do great things, and I can't wait to see who you guys become. And I hope that, feel free to just share like what your dreams are, or what parts of yourself you miss, or what parts of yourself you want to reconnect to, or anything like that. I would love to hear it. You know, I love when you guys encourage each other, and I think all of you can use some encouragement to know that like you can do more than you think, and you are way more than you think. So group 2, that is where I'm going to leave this reading. I really, really hope it was helpful. I apologize if it wasn't, but thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play for at least 30 seconds. That is what allows finances to flow to me while giving you free readings. So thank you to everyone who does that. If you don't want to watch ads and you watch a lot of YouTube, I would recommend YouTube Premium if it's financially viable for you. I think it's ridiculously expensive, so I don't like push it very hard, but I do think if you use YouTube a lot, it might be worth it. That's up to you, but if you'd like to support me in other ways, liking the video is really helpful. Maybe someone else in the world needs this message. You can comment down below, let me know how it resonates. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. That way you can be the first here. And also, you know, I usually see and respond to comments when I first upload. After that, it is up to fate. but honestly, the more often you comment, the more YouTube will like push your comments. So I am more likely to see you and recognize you. And yeah, and it's cool because once I recognize you, then I can be like, oh, hey, how are things going? And yeah, I'm a very visual person. So if you keep your profile the same, I will likely remember things about you. So yeah, you can check out merch, social media, other videos, ones with extendeds. You can check out, you can share me with a friend, you can tip me. My Cashapp is palehag, or my PayPal, which is connected to my email. But if you use Cashapp, I can respond with like a little emoji, so that's cool. I can't respond on PayPal, but thank you to everyone who does. You can just send me some love and good vibes. I'm sending you those right back. Thank you guys so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Bye! Hi there, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose Perthro and this piece of Moldavite, this is going to be your reading on messages about your financial flow, the energy surrounding your finances, money messages, how you can work with this energy, so on and so forth. So I'm going to lay down these cards and then we'll get into your reading. Okay, group 3. Very interesting energies, and I will definitely say that this reading is for you if you are undergoing a significant transformation or are on the precipice of significant transformation, because I can definitely see that your financial flow is related to a level of personal transformation and spiritual expansion that you've been on a journey to acquire up until this point. I definitely feel like for this group, you may be in a position where you feel like you are failing. Maybe you are dealing with financial constraints. Maybe plans to increase your finances have failed. Maybe they failed miserably. Maybe you view them as failures when in reality there are successes. And maybe you're like, well, that can't be true because I literally failed at it. But the thing is no matter where you're at right now, even if you're in a comfortable position, but just ready for the next level or have been working to try to get to the next level and it seems like your plans have failed, it's all kind of been part of the plan, so to speak. Of any group so far, I would say this group is the most likely to have had some sort of circumstances where financial constraints or challenges that led to financial constraints were part of your growth. I definitely feel like this is a group where no amount of personal will seemed to change circumstances outside of your control. And actually, I definitely think the energy surrounding your finances is one that is uncontrollable. And so part of this journey that you've been on is learning how to still continue to plan and make plans and make things happen on your own accord, but also release control, make room for unknown factors and forces that maybe you didn't consider before, and also allow the energy of mystery, curiosity, to meld with the mastery and skills that you've built during this cycle that you may not even realize you have yet. I feel like things are really just getting started for you, and during this transformation, there will definitely be tests of patience, tests of faith, and tests of perseverance on your path to more financial abundance. But the thing is that your abundance is deeply tied to the rest of your life. It's kind of similar to group 2, but also very different. Honestly, like I could see group 2 being the energy before this group. But for you guys, I can definitely see that there are certain failures that have occurred recently or in the past. And whether they were failures, I feel like more than anything, a lot of these failures had to do with like circumstances completely outside of your control, failures of others that were then, that you became afflicted by, or something like bad timing or unluckiness, or just factors of like everything that was under your control and that was within your control and within your plan, you did, and it still didn't work out the way that you were hoping for it to. The thing is that whatever has occurred there, I definitely feel like it's been very painful and very hard and challenging, and I don't want to invalidate that. And I do also want to say I completely understand why you would feel that way, because I can tell that you are somebody that puts your all into whatever you do. And I definitely think that whatever shortcomings, hardships, or failures you've experienced recently or in the past that you have still been recovering from or trying to manage the fallout from, I do feel like you have convinced yourself that like maybe I'm just not meant to do things, you know, like you might be feeling like the universe is punishing you, or that you've done something wrong, or that what's the point of you even trying, because like trying hurts even more than just not caring. I definitely think that maybe these challenges have brought a hit to your self-esteem, or brought a hit to your ability to believe in yourself or believe in goodness in the universe. And I think the thing is like whatever you were going through definitely was not something that was like personal or a punishment, but I completely understand why you would perceive it that way, especially because it seems like compared to people around you, maybe you're more disciplined, maybe you were more prepared, maybe you had an airtight, solid plan, and like something you couldn't have accounted for, or something outside of your control, you know, thwarted these things. But I guess that's actually kind of part of it, is when you try to control, like the nature of control and controlling energy is actually something that thwarts success for you. That doesn't mean relinquishing control entirely, but I do think there is a part of you that has been missing out on the co-creative powers of the universe and the power of mystery and even occult study or different forms of manifestation, transformation, creation that the universe has been wanting to prompt you towards, that I don't think you would have been open to or would have missed if your plans had worked out. And also, you wouldn't have been learning concepts of abundance, and you wouldn't have been open. There's actually a profound lack of openness in if your past plans had succeeded. I think that life would have been very miserly, actually, and whatever success you did achieve, I don't think it would have been long lasting. I think it would have been something that happened, and then you would have spent your whole life trying to recreate that, wondered why it wasn't happening, believed it was a personal failure, taken it out on yourself, then blamed the universe, then just kind of fallen down a downward spiral that would have been very unhelpful to you, would have driven away people that loved and cared about you, could have been very self-destructive, and just led to a downturn of fate that would be almost catastrophic or devastating to recover from. And so I'm very glad for your sake that's not the case. Maybe for others of you, you're like, okay, well, that is probably dramatic. I don't think that would happen. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe that's just other people in this group, but it does seem like no matter what, the outcome you experienced was necessary to prime you for greater success and more sustainable, healthy success than you would have ever had if your former plans came to fruition. The fact that we have the world here, you have actually succeeded because you're starting this transformation or in the midst of it. And the thing about Perthro is that it's kind of I think it's like the 14th room. Perthro requires some level of skill and mastery to be engaged with. And, Perthro is related to things like the fates and things like that in Norse mythology. And in order to engage with them, the person engaging kind of needs a level of understanding, a level of skill, a level of mastery. And I feel like that's what you have been gaining from this period of time where things just did not work out for you, no matter what you did to try to control the outcome. I also think, though, this time has really shown you what around you does have value, and in the process of this transformation, what you can let go of. It's your financial flow is definitely attached to how you view abundance. And I definitely think that there have been opportunities during this time for you to see who your real friends are, the people that really care about you, what in life you can be grateful for, what you still have, and what is truly important, cliche things like that. But also, it's almost like you were in this process of forming a seed. Like, we have this acorn here, and it's almost like you thought you were starting this process as an acorn and finishing it as an oak tree, but really this process that you've undergone was forming you into the acorn that's going to become the oak tree, and it's priming you for that. One thing I will say is that some of your finances and financial in your increase in your financial situation may come from circumstances you don't anticipate as being powerful for your finances. This card even talks about like gaining an increase in finances through a partner. So if you are single, or if you do have a partner, they could be experiencing an increase in their own financial situation that could be beneficial to you, or create more space for you to transform or explore this next phase of your life, or just make life a little bit easier while you undergo this transformation and see where it takes you. But also it can speak to inheritance as well. You could be receiving some sort of inheritance that supports you and helps you through this process. But I also would say that your emotions are tied to your finances in a way where your financial world is not meant to corrupt you spiritually or emotionally. And I actually think that's one thing that you may have been in danger of in the past, should your plans have come to fruition. That concept of selling your soul to the devil. I think it's easy to visualize that as like, oh, like this pointy dude comes up and is like, hey man, I'll give you everything you want if you just like give me your soul. Like, it's not a big deal. And then you're like, okay. But I mean, really, I think it's a gradual surrendering of what has meaning for you, of your authentic self, of your essence, in exchange for more, fame, money, things that we desire. And I think that, a lot of that, while exciting and fun or even life-changing, a lot of times, like, it may end up not being worth it, or it may like take away your humanity in the process. I mean, look at some of the people, like the people that have the most in the world seem to be some of the most fearful and depraved individuals who, no matter how hard they try, cannot fill the voids in their soul. And it's evident because they do very ridiculous things and they seem very miserable. And at the same time, they become very selfish and miserly and hoard and, create issues, for far-reaching issues for people out of fear of loss. And I think part of what this process was meant to do for you was to teach you that it's okay to put your all into everything and things not work out. Because part of you has needed a little bit of a detachment to needing to know outcome, because your financial flow is attached to mystery. But the thing is that this mystery isn't working against you or being like, oh, you got to figure out this mystery in order to get your money. It's more so, your financial flow is partially connected to this dance with mystery in the cosmos, where you're exploring your own pathway and journey through this transformation, and also using mystery, number one, as a tool for guidance around the unknown, and two, letting it speak to your intuition and lead you in places that maybe you wouldn't have even known to look, or directions you wouldn't have even thought to go in the past, because you were so sure of yourself or thought you had to do things a certain way. Part of your financial flow is around releasing expectations and exact ideas of how things need to unfold or work out. You do actually have a powerful ability to manifest and create, but you definitely fight against the current and make things harder than they need to be, because you might be so sure of yourself, or in the in an attempt to prevent anything from going wrong, you do everything you can to plan for that and make things so solid, make your plans so solid and so like detailed and thought out, that there is no room for variety or for a better way. There's no real creative process happening. It's rather just strict planning and the desire for complete control, which I think number one is stressful, and number two, it doesn't allow what you're creating or what you are investing in or where you're putting your energy to evolve or to pivot or to lead you to something even more sustainable and helpful for what you're building for your future. And for some of you, you may not even know how you're going, what you're going to do to financially, or what you are going to do to earn more. Or if you're already working on projects, you might be thinking about throwing in the towel, or might be thinking about pivoting entirely. Trust your intuition around that. But I will say with this Perseverance card, there are certain aspects where, you know, maybe the success that you have always been dreaming of happening here, that will hit when you're in a surrendered state and open to the unknown. There's also something about Perthro that speaks to a mix of professionalism and play. And I think one of the things you have been missing out on is play. There's definitely a very I think one thing that you're walking away from is a very serious mindset where it's like, no, we are all work. No, we have to focus on these things. We cannot indulge in these things. We can't be having fun. Like, that's gonna take our eyes off the prize. That's gonna take us out of the game. Like, that's gonna put us behind. And the thing that the universe is trying to get you to understand is that there's value in all experiences, not just the ones that consciously lead to the outcome you're looking for, because sometimes the outcome you're not looking for is far more valuable than what you know already works or what you think is the most effective process. I also think that maybe in the past, the way you did things was the most effective process for you. And truthfully, it probably would have been an effective process if these circumstances outside of your control hadn't thwarted the outcomes you worked so hard to achieve. And I can see why you might be like, man, screw everything, screw this, what is the freaking point? But part of it is that the universe, number one, did not want you to experience the success without recognizing that success is worthless if you have no joy in your life. I definitely think that there is some recognition that having a more balanced life in general will, number one, keep you human, and number two, give you wisdom and awareness and pathways and opportunities that you wouldn't have considered the value of with such a narrow-minded focus on seriousness, success, and consistent, steady achievement and following plans. Life doesn't always happen according to our plans. I like that phrase that's like, we make plans and God laughs. The thing is, though, is that you can rest easy in knowing that it's not something that you're doing wrong. Well, I guess kind of. Just in the sense that the thing that you're doing wrong is eroding the value of your own life in pursuit of more, when in reality it isn't leading to much but disappointment and a fear of being in your own emotional body, a fear of enjoying your life or having fun things happen because you feel like you don't deserve them. You feel like you haven't earned them. This idea that you have to earn things like love or acceptance or appreciation, or earn respect, those aren't things that you truly have to earn. You know, people that will only treat you that way because of what you have, they're revealing their character right there. But I think that there are other people, you know, in your life who have supported you and cared for you no matter what your circumstances have been. And maybe you felt like you didn't deserve that, or you felt like maybe they were overlooking your flaws, or like maybe you couldn't understand why they would still want to spend time with you, or why they would want to be around you. And it's because you have massively underestimated the worth of your presence, the worth of your friendship, the worth of, if it's applicable to you, romantic relationships, the worth of just, getting to spend time with you. A lot of your financial flow is in recognizing the value of the things you once discarded as unimportant and rebalancing your life in a way that is sustainable, is enjoyable, is nourishing, but also doesn't let go of the visions of the future you want. I feel like the universe is saying you will have the things that you want, but we're not giving them to you unless you're ready to handle it. And by handle it, I mean, I think that your soul came down here with an agreement of, I don't want it all if I lose everything in the pursuit of it. I think that you are in the process of learning that you can have what you desire without sacrificing what is truly meaningful. And it's almost like, because a lot of people do experience that, and it's cruel, right? It's a terrible thing to happen, People gain it all and then lose everything. And I think that I almost even wonder too if you've had those experiences in past lives or something where you've had those, and so your soul was like, we want to achieve, but not at the expense of what matters. And I definitely think that the lessons you've learned, and let's be clear too, it's not like the universe was like, okay, we're gonna set you up to think you succeed and then sabotage you, and that's your lesson. No. We come into this world with nothing other than what we're taught, what we're shown, what society tells us, and whatever tools we're given. We're always doing the best we can with the knowledge we have. And I feel like there was almost this protective mechanism in place to keep you from detonating yourself or completely ruining your life by having you have more than you were ready for and not be able to hold it. And I know that it sounds silly or ridiculous, or even maybe it's even annoying to hear, but I think your soul, I feel like the reason why it was so painful for these setbacks, or these what you perceive to be failures, or these these things happening that were outside of your control, the wisdom you've gained and will continue to gain as you undergo through this transformation will give you knowledge that you could have never had, and this sort of knowledge that you would have had to learn by losing everything you would have gained. And that would have been far more painful than what you already experienced. And I think you would say, well, what I experienced was really painful. So yeah, imagine it being way worse and harder to recover from, and potentially so devastating that you lose the motivation to continue going. There was compassionate wisdom on the universe's part involved in what happened here. You are an intense personality, and that's a beautiful thing, but that intensity can be an extreme inhibitor, or an extreme enemy within your own self if you come to believe things or have certain experiences that you interpret in a certain way that tear you down. Without the skill and the understanding that you've gained, you wouldn't have been ready for what you're truly capable of achieving. So here's the beautiful thing. Your financial flow is tied into a couple of different things. A greater universal mystery that you are opening yourself up to spiritually, a willingness to allow the unknown to be part of your greater plan, and allowing the universe to kind of be a collaborator with you, and one where, maybe you're not always consulting it, but rather there's more open-endedness in your pathway forward. But also this open-endedness that you've already experienced is allowing you to undergo a personal transformation. And this personal transformation is giving you a quality of life that will be much greater than what you would have had if you received all that you were pushing for earlier. The quality of life that you are shifting into, which I feel like you've already had tastes of, or you've already experienced, has likely brought you certain pieces of awareness or wisdom that are specifically centered around self-esteem and self-worth. Because I think your desire to achieve so intensely came from a place of feeling like you weren't good enough to begin with, and came from this place of believing that you needed to have all of this stuff in order to be valid, or in order to be desirable or worthy. And the reality is you were always worthy. But unfortunately, we're taught a lot of self-hating and self-loathing things as we grow up. Not only that, though, this transformation is allowing you to get back into your emotional body in a way where you don't only have to experience the hard and damaging aspects of the emotional body. The emotional body, yes, processes pain and suffering and challenge and hardship, but it also processes joy and love and beauty beyond human comprehension, beyond what we can see. It also is a sounding board for the spirit and is a powerful source of data as we navigate the world. Being detached from your emotional body is very dangerous in general, because it can lead you down paths that end up being far more damaging than you recognize because you can't feel it. And also, it can leave you blind to pathways that could be really powerful and supportive and allow you to have more and have a more fulfilling or easier way getting to your goals than you would have if you had a single-minded mental focus. I mean, think about people who don't really have an emotional experience, like people with antisocial, well, I guess psychologists would define it as like an antisocial personality disorder, like sociopathy or psychopathy. I mean, there's a lot that falls into that umbrella, but like a lot of those people, because they don't have the same experience, same emotional experience as a lot of other human beings, they do a lot more extreme things in order to feel something, or because they have no sense of being risk averse. And that often leads to intense consequences in life where, and that's not to say that all sociopaths or psychopaths are like that. Like, there are plenty of sociopaths, or I don't know plenty, but like I've seen, people that fall under that diagnosis that are like, yeah, like I have this and it's part of my life, but they're self-aware and they live a good quality of life, it seems, despite it. And like, it doesn't mean that if you don't feel things, you're automatically evil. But I do think when you are detached from your emotional body, period, a lot of things that you would never do if you were attached to it automatically become justifiable, can slowly become justifiable, because you can rationalize it mentally in a way your heart never could. So you almost convince yourself of things. And the way I was trying to connect it to the sociopathy thing is like, a lot of people, well, a lot of the ones that make very risky decisions with little consideration of others, or, that are not connected to emotions or don't really experience them in the same way, they can reach high highs, but they can also reach low lows, and they, usually have to push that hard because it's like trying to feel something, or they're not afraid of the consequences, right? And so I think a lot of people who do have a functioning emotional body and a connection to their emotions through conscious detachment over time can fit that criteria and do things that a version of them 10 years ago, 15 years ago would have been completely bewildered, baffled, and would be like, that would never happen. I would never do something like that. It is possible to be corrupted over time. And when you're disconnected from your emotions, that is a big way that can happen. I think that a good example of this is that a lawyer can make an argument for anything. And I think that the mind can make justifications that the heart cannot. And when you're connected to your heart, there are just certain things where you're like, no, like that's terrible, or that's wrong, or that's soulless. Whereas like the mind might be like, yeah, but like think about it this way. And I feel like that's why it's so important to be in your heart, because you do have a lot of power and you could use that power for great good. And that's not to say that you weren't good before, but I think that part of your financial flow is actually tied into this transformation where you're meant to use your genius, your brilliance, your wisdom, your power to benefit others in a way that maybe you thought you couldn't in the past, or maybe in a way where you thought that giving of yourself, or maybe you just didn't realize all the good that you could do with the tools that you have, and realize that life can be a win-win outcome, and that you don't have to suffer for the sake of your goals. In fact, you can have your goals and benefit others at the same time while you benefit yourself. Like there's win-win-win, like there's so many wins here. And I think that the wisdom that you're gaining and that you have gained, like you're undergoing this transformation where who you are and what you're about and what holds meaning to you is completely changing. Your faith systems might be changing. Maybe you've undergone some sort of spiritual awakenings. I also think, though, that there are still parts of you that you were born with and that you'll continue to have and that will follow you throughout your life. And they're wonderful aspects of you that are meant to remain. What you're doing now is that you are taking the remnants of your past self with you that are staying and mixing them in with this new experience and new perspective of the world as you follow this transformation. And then you get to experience the magic of where it leads to. You have a powerful intuition, and your financial flow is tied to your ability to trust it, and your ability to trust in where your heart is guiding you and where the universe seems to be pointing you in directions of. You're kind of this, I mean, it's very much magician energy. You know, one of the most important things about the magician is that he is connected to his own divine spark. He's connected to this greater energy through him. You know, you're not meant to be animated by sheer logical force alone. You know, the magician uses earth, water, fire, and air, and spirit. He uses all the elements at his disposal, and that's part of what you're meant to do. And I think not only that, but your financial flow is a bit more mysterious, but there's also aspects of it where you're going, rather than having a clear conscious vision of what your role is, what you're stepping into, how you're meant to serve in the world, how you're meant to show up, you have part of it. And the universe is leading you towards it. And your experiences are shaping you in ways that will help you more consciously recognize, yup, I want to head in that direction. Nope, I don't want to head in that direction anymore. Yup, I should add this to my repertoire. Nope, I should let go of this aspect of my routine. Part of the most important aspect of this is that what you want, what you need, what has meaning for you, and just the value of your life in general is being considered moving forward, because your process in the past was a form of self-neglect, self-betrayal, and was dehumanizing to you. And you are in the process right now of experiencing a form of evolution that allows you to have more, push less, experience peace, joyfulness, enjoyment in the process, and also meaningful, profound change that opens your mind and the possibilities of how you could use your brilliance in ways that you never considered. I really do feel like for all of you, the financial opportunities are really endless here. And I definitely think like you were never meant to be, like, even if you are in a profoundly dire financial situation right now, I feel like you know deep down, if this is truly your pile, you know it's going to work out and you know that you're going to move through this time, but it's frustrating and you just need answers. And that's the thing, is that the answers are going to come in experience and reflection over time. They're not going to come in the universe coming down in a bubble and being like, here's what you need to do. Because if they did that, that would just add to those controlling tendencies that don't allow you to be open to mystery. There is a huge aspect of your financial flow that lies in acceptance of the unknown, acceptance of your own limitations, and acceptance of your needs, your human needs especially. And like I will say an example of this from my personal human experiences, I've had a lot of frustration with just how much maintenance is required being in a physical body. You know, needing to hydrate myself properly, making sure I get enough electrolytes, you know, making sure I get enough sleep. And when I push myself too hard, then I have to make up for it, and all the progress I made gets kind of thwarted because I have to take more time to recover from whatever damage I did to myself, pushing myself too far and neglecting what my body needs. And it's super annoying, and I want to get mad at my body and be like, can you just like get over it? And that's callous and mean towards my body because it's working hard to take care of me and let me be alive and let me do my work in general. And coming into balance with it has helped, or at least that is still a progress and a transformation myself I'm working through. But learning to come into better balance with it has made moving forward a lot easier, and I don't have to push myself as hard. But it's a process of learning and reattuning and becoming aware of things that maybe you didn't even realize were there before. So you're undergoing profound change that is leading to financial growth, but it's not just about your finances. It's leading to a better quality of life, deeper, richer friendships, relationships in general, a greater sense of self-esteem and self-worth within you, where it's not tied to achievement or financial outcome, but rather a recognition of your own inherent value, recognition of the value of your journey, rather than just moving to a destination that has to be a certain way. And on top of that, patience with the process and recognition that you're doing great. And honestly, the fact that you can undergo whatever you've undergone just to get to this point, and also not completely lose yourself or become jaded or hate the world entirely and give up, like that's powerful. And sure, you might give up for a time, you might be miserly for a time, you might be angry. That's allowed because that's part of feeling your emotions and not letting go of your emotional body. I feel like there is a part of you that is still afraid to feel disappointment or frustration or just the way in which your emotions can overpower you and overpower what you logically know you need to get done. But I think that there's a lot of value in letting that happen sometimes, because it's just part of being human, and it's also a protective mechanism that you may not realize. I also think staying connected to it, it's what helps you become aware of the non-negotiables of what you need while you continue this transformation and this pursuit of who you're becoming and what you do career-wise and out in the world. And that may change over time. I can't sit here and tell you what you're going to do. You might be doing multiple different things. You might be doing what you're already doing, just how you approach it might change. You might be, you might find that like you're doing what you're already doing, but then also trying new things. I definitely think everybody's path here is very individual and unique. But what I will say for all of you is that this transformation that you're undergoing, you're gonna feel weird and confused and frustrated sometimes. But don't shame yourself for those feelings. Don't wish them away, because those feelings are evidence that this process is working and it's leading you to something new. Not only that, but one piece of advice that I would like to give you is to definitely explore ways to tap into your inner world and to explore the occult, the mystery. You can do that through religion, spiritual concepts, occult concepts, really whatever intrigues you, whatever interests you, go for it, because you're gonna find new ways of creating, new ways of manifesting, new interests, new opportunities that you wouldn't have had if you had that single-minded focus. The universe was never saying no to you. It was just saying not yet and not in this way, because we love you too much to have such a poor quality of life. And I definitely think with this Temperance card being here and this beautiful blue butterflies could be a sign for you that you're on the right path. I definitely think as well. Oh, great. I just realized there are nipples on this weird Sphinx thing. Glad that happened almost towards the end of what I was saying. They're so hard to see though. I wonder if I'll get away with it. I may just have to put like a tiny that's so annoying. Why are there nipples on a muscle dog with wings? I don't know. I guess just a mystery for me to accept and for you to have to deal with whatever weird thing I choose to use to censor it with. That being said, I do think blue butterflies could be like a powerful sign that you're on the right path, but I also think it's a sign of transformation. And this is a process of rebalancing. And a lot of the answers and things that you're going to be looking for are either on the other side of this transformation or will be much more easily understood once you're on the other side of this transformation. But know that things are not only getting better, but you're looking ahead, you're moving forward, and you're not losing anything with what you're leaving behind. Life might be chaotic, life might be crazy, life might be surprising, but it's going to be interesting and you're smart enough to work with it and learn from it. I think you are going to be blown away at how the universe is really working in your favor. And as you start to achieve everything you set out for so long ago, but in an easier, lighter, more enjoyable way, I think you're going to be really glad you never succeeded in the way you wanted to in the past, because you'll realize, oh wow, I would have never been convinced that life could be any other way than how I thought it would be, and I would have missed out on the opportunity for what I wanted to happen, for the outcomes I wanted to achieve, and have joy, connection, balance, harmony, and room for mystery and excitement, and also a perspective that allows me to ground in inventions, creations, opportunities, positions, ideas, mindsets that are beneficial for all of humanity, beneficial for myself and the people around me, beneficial period, rather than parasitic. Not to say that you were parasitic, but a lot of people that push towards achievement to the detriment of themselves and others at all costs, like they can have, parasitic behaviors and ideas. But that's not what your path is meant for. And I think that you are gonna be shocked at how good life can be, even when you're still in the process of reaching towards what you want to achieve. And I'm honestly just want to say to all of you, like, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited for you, and I'm so, like, I'm just as curious as you are to see what you end up achieving and what you end up doing, and know that, it's a process that isn't easy, but it's worth it. And who you become will feel better than any material achievement or any ability to overcome suffering on your own accord ever would, because you would have just given yourself a new opportunity to suffer in a new way. Like, I hope you're ready to see how good things can get, because it might look very different than how you pictured it in the past, but you're going to realize it's not about necessarily how it looks, it's about how it feels and also what truly has meaning. Definitely don't give up now, because life is about to get better than it ever has, and you're probably going to be more confused than you've ever been and more uncertain, but at the same time, this is going to be the freest you've ever felt, the most hopeful and optimistic you've ever been, and the most opportunity to experience magic and explore the mysteries of the universe. Like, it will be such a satisfying experience and bring you wisdom that others will be like, what is in group 3 cereal in the morning? Like, what milk are they using? They're gonna be like, what's your secret? And you're gonna be like, my secret is I don't know, I'm just trying, I'm learning, I'm growing. It's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, true sustainable growth and change that improves your quality of life, the money, the number in your bank account, and the well-being for all of mankind. Very powerful stuff, and it usually requires a powerful person with a lot of wisdom and a lot of willingness to work with the unknown, and that's you. And that's what you're going to do if you're not doing it already. And I'm very excited for you. So we're going to go ahead now and get some guidance for you moving forward. Yes, I accept that good things come easily. I am a super attractor. So one thing I would challenge you to look at is what good things are wanting to come into your life that you're pushing away because you feel like you don't deserve them. There might be more wisdom and value there than what you realize. We also have focus. I align with my ability to focus anytime, anywhere, on anything. I am a veritable magician. I told you were a magician. Oh my gosh, I'm so afraid about stuff. See, okay, this is the thing too that you also need to understand is like when I do these readings, half the time I don't even know what I'm saying or what I'm talking about. And then these cards come out that confirm what I was saying. Well, it's not because like I understand what I'm saying and what I'm talking about in the moment, but I'm just flowing with it and then I forget it. So I'm like, I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, and you're not here to like sit with me and like give me the validation that this is helpful or useful, which is actually probably kind of a good thing because that forces me to have to trust in whatever is coming through me and trust in mystery and the unknown. And then the universe will come through and bring powerful confirmation. And I can magically focus pocus whenever I want. Look, it's working right now. I'm focused on everything except what I need to do. And maybe sometimes you should focus on the things other than what you need to do. Because maybe the biggest thing you need to do is to give yourself a damn break. Yeah, we have new moon in Taurus with know your worth. I definitely think that you're being encouraged to see your worth beyond achievement and recognize what outside of you already exemplifies that. And if nothing does, maybe set some boundaries with your life around you, because there certainly are people that will value you for you and not what you do or what you're capable of or what you do for them. And we also have acceptance, with the trigger statement being I cannot trust anyone, and the true statement being everyone deserves my love. I open my heart to heal and release. I open myself to the peace of divine love and grace. And I think that's like honestly the biggest thing is like I cannot trust anyone. That's why that high control like energy, like I understand why you feel like you can't trust anyone, especially not the universe. And I definitely feel like things not working out the way that you meticulously planned to have them happen would be so disappointing and make you feel like you can never trust the universe. You know, and whatever experiences where people have hurt you or betrayed you or made you feel not good enough, made you feel like you don't want to open up. Like you remind me of that meme where, and I hate this meme because it's like this like pink blob and it tries to open up and then it gets punched and then it goes back into its box and it says never again. And like, yes, it's protecting itself, but at the same time, it's literally boxing itself in and trapping itself. Like sometimes in life we take punches and those punches bring us wisdom, hopefully not literal ones. And those punches bring us wisdom and growth and understanding, but they can also be really painful and make us want to hide from the world. And that's understandable, but that takes you out of the flow of life, out of your financial flow and the flow of opportunity and mystery. And that's a lot of what your flow is connected to. So I think the first process of trust that you can build with is yourself and this connection to mystery, and see where things go from there. But also I think acceptance and knowing, you know, that it's okay to open yourself up to that, and that you're not foolish and that you're not dumb, and that there's nothing wrong with being an open and kind-hearted person. There's nothing wrong with placing your faith in something greater than yourself. There's nothing wrong with placing your faith in the unknown. It's usually only a problem when you don't account for what you need to do, but you do that in spades. So you don't have to worry about that fact. If anything, the only thing you have to worry about is giving the universe room to work its magic, and so that you can take less off your plate, or take more off your plate so you can do less, if that makes sense. But we're gonna finish off with a little buddy that's gonna bring you an affirmation and some guidance. And I would also like to see this as a significant animal that will follow you through your journey and maybe a positive sign beyond the butterfly. So group number 3, Spirit, what guidance do you have for group number 3 Who is group number 3's buddy that it will help guide them through the unknown, please? Oh, yeah. Okay, and also this grasshopper wanted to come out. It was on the back of the deck. And it was like falling out as I was setting the deck down. And I was like, oh yeah, this is for you guys as well. See, you're so abundant. You got 2 guidance cards instead of 1. Look at how lucky you are. Lucky, abundant, and you were just given it. Okay, so the grasshopper is following you, and it says, breakthrough, advancement, good fortune. My progress is swift and effortless. It might feel long in terms of your mind, but trust me, you're already progressing more than you realize. I mean, you sat through this entire reading. That's progress in of itself, because I know I can yap. Big breakthroughs and unusually swift progress are predicted. Be willing to dispense with ideas about how much time is required or how difficult your progress needs to be. I'm going to say that louder. Be willing to dispense with ideas about how much time is required or how difficult your progress needs to be. Do not insist that things be difficult. I hope that registers. Give yourself permission to have an easier journey. Accept helping hands, lucky breaks, and other opportunities that support your success. Let go of anxiety or hesitation. Allow yourself to set your own pace. Let your path and your voice be your own. It will suit you much better than trying to follow another's path or pace, even if that another is just a past version of yourself. We also have angels, so angels are watching over you, which I love that. Confirmation, trust, higher purpose. I am sheltered within the wings of angels. Your answers are now being prayed, and you are surrounded by spiritual protection. You can visualize this as white light radiating all around you. Trust that you are on the right path. Even if there are challenges, know you will find a way through, aided by powerful love and light of your divine guardians. There's no need to be afraid. Trust. See, trust how your path is unfolding, even when it takes unexpected twists and turns. Here is a sign of hope, light, and that an oppression is to be lifted from your soul so that joy, love, and happiness can return to your heart. What did I say? What did I say? You're going to have it. Cards confirmed it. So I hope you're ready for how good and pleasurable life can be when you let it, because that's what you're getting, buddy. You're getting lots of love and abundance and money rather than at the expense of money. So, group number 3, that is where I'm going to leave your reading. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background while you do something else. That is one of the simplest and easiest ways to let finances flow to me. And you only have to watch them for the first 30 seconds. After that, I think you can skip and I still get compensated. So thanks to everyone who does that, because like, you know, put a lot of energy into these. Other things you could do, like the video, so other people that need to see this message can find it, and lets me know what you want to see more of. You can comment down below, let me know how it resonates, and subscribe if you haven't already to be notified whenever I upload a new video. If you want me to see your comments, I usually see comments when I first upload, unless I get really scared about the outcome and then I look later, or maybe I don't look at all, or maybe I look when I'm no longer afraid to look. It's really up to fate, if I'm being honest. And this reading like ended up being a lot more enjoyable because I was focused on where my strengths were. So, you know, I say things, but everything changes. So you just never know with me. Other ways to support: candles, codes of 10, social media. You can share my videos with friends. You can check out other videos, especially ones with extended. So if you haven't seen my most recent reading, you might want to check that out. That one had a really spicy, juicy extended that was very interesting. You can share my videos with others, watch other videos, just send me good vibes. You can tip. My Cashapp is palehag. Also, I have PayPal. I don't have Venmo, but if you tip me on Cashapp, I can send a little emoji back, but I can't respond on PayPal. So let that be known. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me read for you. I really hope this reading helped. I love you guys so much, and I really hope that this reading was supportive. And yeah, I just appreciate you being here. I appreciate you letting me read for you. I love you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye!